I'm getting my first commercial listing tomorrow, actually.
Yeah, nice. Congrats.
Getting photos for it. It's like a rental.
Congratulations. We like it. It always starts somewhere. So mostly residential for now, but you're moving more into the commercial space. I mean, tell me what's your? I mean, obviously, so your goal is to sell 8 to 10 commercial properties this year. And most of your business right now is come from social media. Obviously, I like the idea of you doubling down there. Smart idea. What type of lead generation slash schedule do you have right now?
I'm doing a lot of cold calls from I do get data from PopStream. But mostly just doing residential. I actually haven't gotten any data yet for commercial, which I'm looking to do. Probably, start targeting cold calls for commercial. So that's kind of how I lead generate listings that, for people that I'm trying to get to, like
So I'm
out
saying
there.
all the deals that you closed last year, you said 80% of it came from social media and then 20% of it came from cold calling on PropStream. I'm just trying to get a better understanding.
Yeah, yeah. So the rest was online realtor.com. Some of it was cold calls, yeah. Like most of it actually, well, yeah, was some from Sphere referrals and stuff like that.
Great.
But
Yeah. No, I mean, look, as long as you're tracking wherever it is, and because like I know I like to look at whatever the source is and then just quadruple down on whatever the largest source was.
honestly, social media, not gonna lie. Social media was my number one, like the biggest one.
Right, which is like someone seeing a post and then reaching out to you.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so I mean, obviously doubling down, tripling down on that is going to be a wonderful opportunity for you, it sounds like. For me, a large portion of my business has always come from cold calling, so I quadruple down on it. Now we make well over 200,000 cold calls a month. It's just been our biggest source for the last decade, so we continue to double down on it. Obviously, I like the idea that you're trying to do both. And typically what I recommend for individuals like yourself, where you're in the residential business, which probably was like 100% of your income from last year, right? No commercial sales.
No, commercial?
I'm saying for last year, your was all residential.
Oh yeah, all residential. I actually have never sold a building.
Understood. So it's exciting. Don't worry. So because the one thing I just want to keep you thinking about is when you're trying to shift into more commercial deals, keep in mind 100% of your income last year came from residential. So we can never just turn the faucet off. That never makes any sense, right? So
Nowhere. Yeah,
yeah,
very.
great. So what I'd highly recommend is probably about one day a week at most for now is that you go, hey, Thursdays, Fridays, Tuesdays, whatever it is, this is my commercial day. Now, obviously, our trainings are on Wednesdays. So if you want to say Wednesdays are your commercial days, it might be a decent day for you to do it just because it's when we're doing our trainings. You're going to, I'm going to be making cold calls. So you can be doing cold calls along with us. So if you want to just say Wednesdays going forward, it's like, hey, I'm going to do all my prospecting in the morning and that's just going to be my commercial day. Every other day is going to be dedicated to growing the residential side of the business.
That works perfectly, actually.
Wonderful. And then I noticed that you were just saying, because I was just reading through a couple of the other notes that you had listed here, was really just you want to figure out a way to increase your growth and get a deal in. So, like, obviously, you just want to figure out our quickest way to getting a commercial deal. The one thing I want you to realize is that the commercial real estate business, at least the majority of it, is specifically on investments. Have you sold any residential properties to an investor?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Tell me about your experience there.
Well, yeah, no, like I am very aware of like, it's all about the numbers and it's not about how pretty the property looks, right? It's not the same like aspect. But yeah, it basically was no emotion to it, it was just all about the numbers.
Sure.
And
I'm just saying, like, was it a single family house? They went to flip
oh,
it.
it was a what was it, three family?
Three family. Okay, awesome. So the reason why I asked that question is because typically what I found to be the easiest transition for individuals that are very heavily in the residential world and want to transition more to the commercial world is you start with small multifamilies. I love that you did a three family. I highly recommend that you start prospecting like 5 units, 6 units, 10 units, right? Sub 20 units would probably be a good place for you to start. It's what actually I did at the very beginning of the transition for me from residential to commercial sales.
Sub 20 units?
Sub 20 units, yeah. Like as in like anything under 20 units.
And under.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Sub 20 units. Anything under 20 units. Yeah.
Sub
Just because, like,
under.
again, you could maybe even start with 10. I'm not trying to confuse you. So it's like five to 20 units would be a good range because obviously 4 units is still residential. But recommending that like you start with the smaller multifamilies to begin with. It's typically the easiest for someone like yourself to kind of understand values, understand the intricacies of the deal. Because like, again, it's, you know, a 3-family versus a 30 unit. I mean, obviously they're not different, but there's not drastic differences from them, right? Like you have an income, you have expenses, take them, you know, you take income, you subtract your expenses, you're going to have a net operating income, you divide that net operating income into a certain value, and you base it off of a price per unit basis, right? That's really it. You're either doing a financial aspect approach or you're doing a price per unit approach, typically for multifamily, trying to gauge the value. So, which obviously during our underwriting trainings, you'll see how, and understand how to evaluate larger multifamily deals, because it's not comp basis. It's more so the specific deal. Like in typical residential fashion, right? You can have 2-3 families next to each other. And if you're like, oh, all 3 families are trading for 400 grand, that should be worth 400 grand. You know, in commercial, you can have a 30 unit and a 30 unit. One can sell for 4 million and one can sell for, you know, 6 million. And it's, you know, it's more so about the income. One can, you know, if one's rented for $1,000 a unit versus $2,000 a unit, drastically different values. And obviously, again, we'll go through that 100 times during the underwriting training, and you have access to that specific program already. So you can go through all the previous underwriting trainings that we've recorded, the dozens of them, and you can start watching them to try to get a better understanding as soon as you like. And just keep in mind that a lot of this business is lead dependent, right? So any opportunity you come across, right? Obviously, it's great because we're in the same exact market. So if you come across any type of opportunity, any individual in the state of New Jersey who's looking to sell, you know, you can say like, hey, Henry, I got a property address 123 Main Street. What do you think, right? And we can talk about that on a regular basis. So because I probably have a buyer for it. For just about any good deal in New Jersey, I can sell in a matter of a day or two. So just, you can always keep me posted across anything you get. Okay.
Yeah, I definitely will. And yeah, I've been across a lot of opportunities, but I never was able to sell them, to be honest with you. I swear to you.
Well, look, now, if you have anything that you've come across in the past, you can send me a list and I can go through it real quick and be like, hey, I might have a buyer for this, this, and this, and maybe I don't have something for this, this, or this, right? So like, if you want to do any follow-up, because like my intention here for every student that comes across or comes into the program is like, I want to take you from where you are right now to closing your next deal as fast as freaking possible. And if you've already generated a bunch of opportunities, we might as well start there. So I would say like whatever that list looks like, let's talk about it. So if you have that list handy, we could talk about that as soon as you have it, or any and all addresses, you know, that you'd be prepared to share, because those right there, your hottest leads, the people you've already spoke to, they said they're interested in selling, and a matter of finding a buyer at a right price, right?
There's one guy in Jersey City that's a 6-unit actually. That's just sitting in my mind.
You said Jersey City?
Yeah, Jersey.
Okay. How much does he want for a 6-unit?
He wanted 1.2. Not bad actually. It
Depends on the income for sure, but I might have a buyer for you.
Very low rent. I know that. It was 2 beds. Have
you presented any offers to him?
No, because I could never meet him or could never see the property and like nothing. I didn't know exactly how to go about it, to be honest. Like I have it in my pipeline right now.
Okay. Well, look, so let's just quickly break down the step-by-step here, because I want you to think from at least my lens, because I'm not from the lens of just take every property and list it for sale. So it's like whenever you get a lead, or at least I'm going to show you this, like this is our process for my team. Okay. We generate a lead, however you do it. Social media, cold calling, warm cold calling, referrals, whatever. You generate a lead. Now that lead is generated. We then review that lead, which obviously when you generate that lead, we want to make sure that also encompasses when I say a lead, that is all contact information and as much financial information as possible in property detail, right? So I know it's a 6-unit multifamily. Hypothetically, you know that each unit is rented for X amount of money. So it brings in 6 grand, 7 grand, 8 grand a month, right? Whatever that number is. Like, you know, the details to that extent. You know, if they pay, questions with multifamily is going to be who pays what utilities. Do they pay their own electric? Do they pay their own water? Do they pay their own gas, right? Who pays their own utilities? Because typically most multifamily properties, at least typically electric can be most of the time separately metered, sometimes gas, and fairly, not so frequently water. So you'll want to know that breakdown, because that's obviously a cost or an expense we're going to have to add to the seller's plate or the buyer's plate when they're looking at the deal. You generate the lead. Next, like we just said, evaluate. Okay, so now we go to the next step, which is evaluate the deal. Now, when we evaluate it, we're going to run the numbers, and based on the financial details and the property details you provide, we look through the numbers. We say, okay, this 6-family is worth something like $1 million. Okay,
I have the notes actually. 2 bed, 1 bath, 6 units for 1,800.
Okay, 2 bed, 1 bath, 1,600 in rent.
18.
Oh, sorry. 1,800 a month rent. Fully occupied?
There was 2 that was vacant that he told me.
2 vacant.
He's at now, but.
Okay, so let's just say they were all rented, $1,800 times 6. Total income is now $10,800 a month times 12. We're looking at $129,600. in gross income. Let's take a 40% expense ratio. Net income is 77 grand divided into an 8 cap is just shy of $1 million. So I look at this as that this deal could trade on the market for $1 million. So what I look at it as, if it can sell at $1 million, what do you feel like? Because what we do is we submit an offer at them to the client. Okay.
Yeah.
Right away. So we generate the lead, we evaluate. Now it's time to submit an offer. So if I know it's worth $1 million, you and I just did some quick numbers. We evaluated it quickly, and we think it's worth $1 million. What type of number do you think we should present to them?
I don't know. I mean, that all depends. I mean, there's a gap definitely from where he wants and where, you know what I mean, what you think is worth, you know what I mean?
I agree with you. So I'm just saying, what do you think? If we know that you and I believe that it's worth about $1 million from an investor lens, which we just ran the numbers.
I would start with $1 million or lower.
Yeah, or lower. Exactly. So so if we know it's worth $1 million, we should be offering lower than $1 million to start. And just keep in mind, I don't care at all what they want. It doesn't mean anything. No matter, it doesn't change the value of the property, right? Just like with residential, right? They might want $1 million. It's only worth 500. I don't care what you want. I can want $10 million for my property. It might only be worth $2 million, right? Like, so the way we look at it is like, okay, that's why we evaluate it first. We say it's worth $1 million. Great. Now we're going to make an offer at 800 grand. We want some spread, okay? Because we obviously need to make sure, because we don't know if they'll leave it. Even if they would accept $1 million, we don't know if they'd pay us commission on $1 million. So we need to make sure there's enough spread where we can make some money. And when I say it's worth $1 million, I mean it's worth $1 million to another buyer. A prospective buyer would probably pay about $1 million for this deal. Now, so on this specific person, you can present an offer over the phone of of 800 grand. So you can present them with an offer of 800 grand. And you could say that my buyer, Henry, is very interested in your property for 800, and they wanted to present an offer to you of 800,000. So you present an offer just like you would in residential, except in this instance, pretend like in residential, you don't have a written contract. How would you present an offer?
With an LOI.
Wait, I'm saying you could do that. I'm saying, like, imagine that you don't have a written offer right now, okay?
Oh.
So how would you present an offer to a seller?
Just call him and be like, hey, very interested. He has the cash ready. We can close in less than 30 days. Just try to make it as appealing as possible.
So agreed, right? So before you say 30 days and all that kind of stuff, but obviously I'm just going to break this down like basic stuff. You're going to call him and you're going to present the details over the phone. Now, obviously, because you've been doing well in residential, you realize you're going to present a lot of offers, and sometimes the seller is going to go absolutely freaking nuts. So it's not about them just accepting that price, but it is very important you get them off their current number that they're thinking. So if he's saying 1.2, the reason why we offer 800 is something called price anchoring. So with price anchoring, the reason why we offer 800, because we think from an investor lens, is saying, hey, our first offer, we're price anchoring at 800K. Now he's also price anchoring us at 1.2 million, right? So now we're here trying to say, is there any level of motivation for this individual to budge off of their number?
He wanted to sell and buy something bigger. Or like something else.
Cool, but listen, there's gonna be plenty of people who go, absolutely not. I'm not taking $1 less than 1.2 million. Screw you. You don't know what I'm talking about, what the values are. You're stupid. Blah blah blah. Right? We're looking for the people who are ready and prepared to transact today. And if they're not really ready, willing, and able, they're probably not going to be worth our time to continue pursuing a sale. So we offer 800. The whole purpose of presenting that offer is just to get a counter. We want a counter. That's the only thing that we're looking for, is some type of counter that isn't 1.2 million or whatever number they say. So lead, evaluate, offer. Okay, after you get you get your offer, you just want a counter, which is our next step. The last step after counter is true offer. Let's just say that the buyer, you present your 800. The guy goes, listen, I'm willing to sell it at $1 million or 1.1, 1.15, 1.2, whatever his number is. Okay, anything besides 1.2. Let's say it's a more at a reasonable price. He says $1 million or $1.1 million, something that you and I feel we can probably transact on. You're then going to now go to the open market and try to find a buyer who's willing to sign an offer, a true offer, right? We have starter offers, which is something like from me, right? And then I have a true offer, which is then from a legitimate buyer in the marketplace ready to transact today. Now we go back to the market and we go like, hey, John, the buyer, I know you own several properties in Jersey City. You own a bunch of 6 families. We have this great opportunity. He wants 1.2. And here's the thing, very important. We pitch it higher. You want to always make sure you have a 6+% buffer. What?
Would this be a wholesale?
No, I'm not just saying wholesale, but the reason why we do this is because we still haven't confirmed if the seller's willing to pay us a 6% commission yet.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So
okay, because sometimes, I'm telling you, I've made this mistake many times. Let's just say the seller goes, yeah, sure, I'll take $1 million. Okay.
Then negotiate like 2% or some shit.
Exactly. And then they come back and like, oh, no, I was only going to be willing to pay you 2%. I'm not making 20 grand. This is ridiculous, right? Like, so what I'll say, this is
It
why it's
happened
very
to me
important.
not too long ago. Oh Lord. I made
I made the same mistake, right? So this is why we pitch it higher. We sell it at least 6+% higher. Now, obviously, you don't want to make it like a stupid number where it's 1,060,000. No, just do 1.1 million. It's fine. Like, just make it normal.
that was like a big game changer right now.
So this here, big game changer for me too, right? From many years ago when I learned it, like, oh, okay, like it is more about how you negotiate the deal, right? To protect yourself. Okay. So in this instance, he's willing to take $1 million. You want to make sure like, hey, like, I don't know if he's willing to pay me 6%. I got to pitch this at $1.1 million. Cause now what you do is this now, cause it's still more negotiating. Let's say you got a buyer who's willing to pay $1.1 million. It doesn't mean you still wholesale the deal. I want to be very clear. What you're doing now is you have the opportunity to possibly wholesale it. Maybe it's not a guarantee. Cause now what you're going to do is you're going to go back to the seller and you're going to go, hey, I have an offer for you at $950, 6% commission. Okay. Because you want to,
the buyer.
Exactly. You want to continue negotiating because you want to see what the actual amount of room is in the deal. So like if I got a written LOI for 1.1 million bucks, and what I'll do is I'll take their exact terms from the 1.1 million and then I will draft an LOI at 950 and see if there's any more room in this deal. Because I'm still negotiating. Maybe the seller will take, I know they said, we offered 800, they came down to $1 million. Let's see if they're willing to take 950 and still pay us 6%. Because what's going to happen is sometimes what happens now is that if you offered, this is why it's important, if you offered right off the bat, the 1-1 offer to the seller, what happens is they go, wait a second, you just got me 1.1 million bucks. I want 1.1 million now. So you just have to be careful because again, I'm just trying to protect to make sure I make around 6% every time. I don't need to make 150K on every deal. It's just, it's very important that we look at every single opportunity and say, hey, if there is an opportunity here where like, let's say he agrees to 950 and pay you 6% commission, I would highly recommend you wholesale the deal for $1.1 million.
So you make 150 rather than the 70.
Or even more. You make 6% plus 150.
Okay.
So, but I'm saying we're dealing with this right now. We're like literally we have a deal, seller's willing to take $750,000 and we just got a buyer to write up an offer at $900,000. So instead of taking a 6% commission on $900,000, we're going to, we presented an offer at $700K with a 6% commission that the seller said they're possibly open to taking. So instead of making 50 some odd grand, we'll make 250 some odd grand, right? So this adjustment allows us to squeeze the opportunity out of every deal that we come across.
All right, my question is now that 150 when you're wholesaling it, right? How does that look like on a wholesale? That's something I never really understood, if I'm being honest with you.
So I'm a buyer. I'm the buyer. I'm going to close on the property, and then the same day I close, my buyer is going to close.
So you will double close?
I always double close, correct. I don't do traditional assignment fees. I do double closing.
Okay, double closing. Oh, okay, cool.
Correct. Closing. Especially, with the NAR rules and everything else like that. Another reason why I came to EXP Commercial, so I don't have to deal with any of that nonsense. So I don't wholesale anything, right? Or I double close. I'm the principal in every transaction.
Okay.
Right? It's either I'm the broker or I'm a principal buyer and the principal seller, right? There's no assignment fees.
Okay. Because I did a wholesale once where they took the deposit and it wasn't even on paper where they just took that cash. The deposit was their fee and then nothing else was on paper.
Makes sense. I've seen that before. So again, every single, it's deal by deal, right? Which is why it's so crucial to understand how all this intricacy works because it's all deal by, and it changes so fast, right? And all of a sudden, okay, now we have to pivot to back being a broker again. Now all of a sudden, the seller's like, look, I'm only willing to take $1 million, and then the buyer comes back to you and say, hey, I just relooked at my numbers. I'm actually only willing to pay $1 million. All of a sudden, the whole deal changes. You're like, wait a second, I went from making 150 to almost zero. Now it's like you need to negotiate a little bit. Maybe you get the seller to say, listen, if you pay 2%, if you've said in the past you paid me 2% commission. If I can get the buyer to pay the rest of the commission, was that okay? Yes. Now you have to go back to him, and he'll pay you 2%, and then you go back to the buyer and say, hey, you got to pay at least $1,025,000, and now you can make $45K.
So you have your own LLC separate for that, right?
If I'm double closing, yes. Yeah. But I'm saying in this instance of me now negotiating back and forth commission, I'll take it as a broker fee. Every deal is different. I don't just go in saying I'm going to wholesale this.
Do you open a new LLC every time, or you use the same one?
Same LLC.
Same one, right? For all the wholesale.
If I end up closing on it, it's a different LLC for every single deal.
One, okay.
Yeah. If I end up keeping it, I meant not just closing on it. If I end up keeping it to acquire it, every deal has a different LLC.
I do have some clients because my My husband actually, he's very involved in commercial real estate. He does big developments, like big developments. So he has a lot of high-end clientele. Like he's very well connected with those that buy
Great.
actually like, they buy big stuff. To be honest with you, they
Great.
buy like he does over 200, 300, 400 units. Even he's done the biggest one he did, it was 1,800 units in
That's
Journal
awesome.
Square. In Journal Square, those big two towers that came up on Journal Square. My
Yep.
husband built those from the ground up.
That's
And
amazing.
that's a like $1 billion project or something like that.
I mean, look, if he's looking for more projects, we can try to find him more.
No, for sure. Well, my husband only builds them. He's only the concrete guy on them. That's all he does. He's a
I understand.
contractor.
But yeah, I mean,
But
if he knows the developers who are looking for more
he
product for
does,
him to build, then yeah, there's a lot of opportunity.
does, and that's why I want to come in and we can all do deals together, right?
For sure.
And we
For sure.
all want to start like my goal of transitioning to this is making more money because the residential is just not cutting it anymore. Like
Agreed.
I'm trying to, make bigger commissions to be able to invest in these deals too, to be honest,
I hear that. I hear it more often than you realize.
I know. I'm probably sure that's probably the reason why you even started.
100%. Exactly.